You are now about to witness the awesome, crushing might. It's Bill Duke from Predator of Bill Duke from Predator. Knuckle up! Woo! Dizzy. Welcome, my friends, to a show that seemingly, well, maybe never ends. Doesn't it feel strange to be back in this place after so long? It's like that boyfriend or girlfriend that you accidentally see after you've been sitting in the bushes in their house for weeks. Yeah, I don't know which one I am either. The idea being that it's kind of weird, but it feels kind of good. And I'm speaking specifically of Knuckle Up number 254. I'm your host, Eugene S. Robinson, with the S standing for Straight Razor, because Bill Duke, Predator, or Scattershot. And this show is going to take into account the last 14 days of fights. Here and there, cherry picking, because I got the sheets. And last night went to Joe Rogan. So I'm going to use the Joe Rogan show to make some points. And if you're Boston market, fuck off. But right now, Stigmata. Could not see so clear. I'm taking a real good look at you. Taking a real good look at your face. Being paid back in full, always nothing. All right. Welcome, my friends. Let's do a few things. Let's do a few things first. Let me get the. I'm getting production values here, bit by bit. Yeah, this production value comes in the shape of a box that I actually put the camera on. Camera. Yeah, we know it's a camera. Anyway, listen, and we have the tote sheet and of the fight night fight. I actually had, yeah, I got a lot of picks in here. I don't have a lot of successful picks, but that's not the point. Right now, I'm assuming, like on the film Farm Report, he goes, "Good morning, farmers," because who else would be up this early? Right now, I'm assuming that we got nothing but degenerates here, because Lost Battalionized as a sport it's pretty clear to me that nobody without the degenerate dog in the hunt is paying attention to what happened on Saturday night. And in fact, I wasn't even watching it live. I was at Joe Rogan at the Masonic in San Francisco. And people were like, "Hey, I saw him about a month ago in Sacramento. Wasn't that funny?" And people like, listen. And so I went, I saw like half a dozen fighter folks I know, guys from that motorcycle club East Bay Rats that did a piece on for Ozzy. And I decided that this was like not a harmonic convergence of sorts and all kinds, but very specifically that what happened is that these things were all dovetailing in a way that made more sense than they made no sense. And it ties into the fights, to Joe Rogan's funniness or not funniness, as the case may be. I'm not making a claim for either. Let's start out with that. So don't be fucking tweeting this shit to Joe right now. We don't have to. He's not going to listen for an hour and 10 minutes. The show might go a little bit long. Got a lot to say. Stick with me if you can. If you can't, well, you got better things to do. That I would understand. I'm assuming the people who hate the show will already be in the comments now telling me that I could go fuck myself, which is fine. Yeah, you got to understand that my primary tribal identification is with the tribe that in 1977 decided to call themselves punk rockers. I welcome your hatred. Because no matter how much you hate me, it's a drop in the ocean how much I despise you. So, in fact, I hate you and I'm happy to see you. And that should tell you all you need to know about my personality. But all right, so that's not the point. The point is, I want to talk about Joe Rogan, and he's a comedian. Now, he stands up, and comedians, how about this? Let's go back to an old Saturday Night Live. And I don't know if you've ever tuned in to any kind of Lenny Bruce. If you were to watch Lenny Bruce, he is no kind of stand-up comic that you're familiar with today, you know. And by which I mean Lenny Bruce was not consistently funny. It's not like you were sitting there. You were watching Lenny Bruce because you were Lenny Bruceified. I mean, you might laugh in the process, but the laughter wasn't the point of the process. I mean, he does this whole bit about Lyndon B. Johnson being hunkered down after the Kennedy assassination in the White House, practicing saying Negro. That's very funny. But he didn't say it to be funny. Of course, he may have been drug-addled at the time. You know, it's a tragic movie. You can't, I know you may think you know Lenny Bruce because you've seen the Dustin Hoffman movie. Don't. That's like seeing Jim Carrey as Andy Kaufman. It's absolutely fucking pointless. Absolutely fucking pointless. And if you think that I'm not going to mention Nazis during the show, you're very specifically wrong. But I don't want to tip my hand. I'm not trying to cheat and get in early. Let's start with Lenny Bruce. And there's a early Saturday Night Live takeoff with John Belushi, one of the few media figures who's died that gave me some sort of spilkus in my gonectozoid when he died. I was upset. He died like pretty close to Lennon. And I don't give a fuck about John Lennon, but John Belushi, you know him by his less funny brother at this point if you're under 30. If you're over 40, John Belushi was the shit for a period of time. And he did this kind of Lenny Bruceified, you probably can find it on YouTube, a Lenny Bruceified comedian. And the guy was clearly speedballed out, you know, he's kind of like a beatnik. Black turtleneck, you know, and shades. He said, "Man, is that what you want, man? No, you want jokes, man? You want me to be funny, man? Is that what you want?" Kind of equal parts of Dennis Hopper character from Apocalypse Now, an old dirty bastard who's saying, "I'm the paranoid Negro at your party." What the fuck are they looking at? They keep looking over here. I'm sure you've all gotten high with somebody like that. So Lenny Bruce he does his piece about Father Flanagan. The guy's in the building. He's about to throw himself off, and they bring his mother there, and it's a very funny bit. But you get the sense of watching Lenny Bruce the same feeling that you might get when you're watching a Sakuraba. And when people talk about the artistry of Sakuraba, because you are 100% fucking sure that Sakuraba is making this shit up. He's making crazy fucking choices. And if you're not a degenerate fight fan, you're just kind of like, oh, that's interesting. He did a cartwheel into a groin strike. Huh. If you're a fighter and you're familiar with the form, you understand the breaking of the form, right? I mean, we're so inured, we're so immune to the breaking of the formula that when the formula is broken, sometimes you don't even notice it. You don't notice it. So when I see Rogan, and I laughed during Rogan's set, it was funny. And I give this by spirit of constructive criticism, because if you don't think negative reviews are positive, you're absolutely completely wrong. I have everything I have by way of Oxbow, this book, Thin Black Duke, every single thing that's come to me by way of Oxbow, including my wife. I owe to a guy who used to write for Melody Maker. And he gave a whipping bowl. Oxbow played 2 shows in London. Got a shitload of press. The very first shows we ever played, like in 1990. Yeah, I know. I'm old as fuck. And he denigrated the show, talked about the ham theatricality. And I said, you know, fundamentally, what he just said is, you're fucking Anthony Kiedis. And being better than Anthony Kiedis didn't work for the Cats and Fishbone. It's not going to work for you either. So just stop. You want to entertain us? You know what? Save that shit. If we want to be entertained, we'll do stupider shit than you. Now, we know that Joe is smarter than 90% of the people listening to Joe. We fucking know this. When I was at Hustler magazine, my dude at Hustler was like, hey, face it, Eugene, you know, our magazine is not for us. I go, what do you mean? He goes, it's for truck drivers with 10th grade educations. I was like, you don't know that. He goes, well, yeah, we do because we have stats. I go, let me see them. He goes, well, okay, we don't have them. But I see the letters. You know what? You're just looking at a pool of people who write letters. So to whom much is given, much is expected. Hey, here's you're gonna see Eugene Robinson is gonna be at the Punchline in San Francisco on Wednesday, November 1st. I'm playing the straight man, but it's a comedy act. But if you showed up there and I said, I'm not saying he's fat, but when he sits around the house, he sits around the house. I got the fucking. Hey, you know, he's standing there on the corner. The cop comes up and says, hey, break it up, break it up. My wife is so fat when she sits down, she has to sit down in shifts. After about an hour of that, you'd be like, you know what, man, it's not really what I expected, but, you know, he's kind of doing the shtick. Ham-handed theatricality. So I'm listening to Joe Rogan, and I'm digging the stuff on the wolf in the dog park. I'm not going to ruin his routine. I'm digging the stuff on the wolf, the cats, his pets, his opening act, Tony Henshipin or Hennef, whatever. I was digging his thing on 209. That was funny, fight related comedy. Who would have thunk it? I'm digging Joe's take on politics. I'm even digging the edgy shit he did about Hillary, you know. But you know, when he starts getting into the women inventing shit, he's like, "Oh, women invented chocolate chip cookies," but you know, somebody invented chocolate, some dude invented, you know. And he said, "I'm going to say stuff in the next 30 minutes that I don't even believe in, but I'm a comedian. I make jokes, and they're going to be kind of edgy, and you're going to hate me after because, you know, you look at me, and I look like a guy who should be hated. I look like a douchebag, but they're just jokes, folks." And then he goes into do these jokes. You know, he, of course, you know, there's Madame Curie, and there are all these different, well, okay, let's not get into that, his routine. And so he spends maybe the last, I don't know, 40 minutes of the show then, okay, women, you create other humans with your bodies. You can make milk with you make food with your tits. You get what you need the presidency too. And he gives it. He's trotting the line between he's trying to be a contrarian. He's not. Trump is a fucking idiot, but Hillary was fucking terrible. So he's trotting the line between kind of keeping and pushing, keeping. It's a nice, safe line. And frankly, he could have done it, not done it. It didn't make a difference to me. I don't need my political peccadillos catered to when I go to see comedy, right? I don't need it. I don't see comedy a lot. This is like the second or third comedy show that I've gone to that I've not been in. The one on Wednesday, November 1st in San Francisco at the Punchline is my second one, and I'm playing a straight man as part of somebody else's act. But the reality of it is, the reality of it is, he was doing something that was very much like my fat jokes. He was doing something that was formulaic. A guy goes into a restaurant. They say, hey, what do you want? Give me my marriage. What are you talking about? The beef stew. How's that like your marriage? My wife's always beefing and I'm always stewed. Now, these jokes are only fundamentally funny. They're only fundamentally funny if you think that free will exists. If free will exists and you have any number of choices and you choose something that takes you down a comical cul-de-sac, like, you know, a situation where you're arguing with your partner about taking out the garbage or some fucking jive-ass bullshit like that, then you might like the fat jokes, you might like the beef stew jokes, you might like the take my wife, please, you might like these jokes, because he's hewing to gender stereotypes that you seem to think that you can forge your way through the rocky shoals by making this choice or that choice. Because we believe we're so goddamn complex that our choices are the things that make a difference. Our choices are not the things that make a difference. I'm sorry, I'm doing the show, baby. I can't. So what I'm saying is determinism. Determinism is where we are. Determinism. And it feels uncomfortable, but we're not that fucking complex. In a box, in a box of things, that let's assume that this is the box of things. There are lots of things in this box. You don't know what's in this box, but I am this box. And in this box, there are a lot of things. Anything I can imagine is in this box, and I will do anything I can imagine that's in this box. But there are not an infinite number of things in this box. They're not even a million things in this box. So I want to talk to you about AI and fucking robots. Do not get confused. Like a friend of mine once said about a firearm, he said, that gun is more accurate than you'll ever be. It's more accurate than you'll ever be. You will never be as good as that fucking gun. You are the kink in the hose. You yourself are the kink in the hose. The limitation is the box, because outside the box is infinity. So we get these jokes about, we get these jokes about essentially the beef stew jokes. And they confirm a worldview, and we can chuckle because we share in the worldview, and we're like, he's talking about us. It's like, the formula is just, the process to set up the punchline, the formula, it's like, here, let me do a comedy routine. That's comedy. When I was a kid, I thought that was comedy. I thought you said something, and then you said something else, you waited a bit, and then you said this thing, and everybody laughed their ass off. I didn't know that they were connected. You know what? Here, a joke that I told when I was 7 years old? Knock, knock. Who's there? Apple. Apple who? Apple and oranges. Ah! And I'd look around, nobody would laugh, and that would make me laugh even harder. But where Joe fucking hit it hard is where he started talking about, hey, the flaming ball of fire in the sky. And when it goes away, we feel sad. The flaming ball of fire in the sky, we goes away, that rocks the size of countries fly by us and could destroy all of life on Earth. The heavy drug influence stuff but you know what? Joe's got to eat. But then I say, does he? You know what Klaus Barbie said when they asked him, when he got out of Spandau prison? They asked him, they said, well, you know, and they kept poking around like they always do, because they want something that hews to the narrative line. And what they say when they poke around is like, and, you know, he just got right to it. And I'm not holding up Klaus Barbie as an exemplary, character exemplar at all. But, you know, they kept, well, you know, now that you've seen the camps and you know the real horrors, now you've been exposed to what it is exactly. You got, and Barbie says, what is it I have to feel bad for? He goes, I was a top military officer in one of the top armies in the history of the world. If I had to die 1,000 times or be reborn, I would be as I am. And that's a hard fucking reality, right? Because he's so compartmentalized his involvement. So then he's like, you know what? Guess what? It's war. And wartime people get killed. If you haven't figured that shit out, then I can't help you. In totality, you can say, you killed a lot of civilians. You attacked civilian populations. You murdered infants. And he would repeat Albert Speer's line, I don't know nothing about no infants. I was shooting at guys in tanks. You talk to Himmler. So you know, if I have to say 1,000 lifetimes that or when I was firing, what was that kid? The kid from the first season. Somebody texted me. The kid from the first season of MTV's Real World, the black radical who threatened me and challenged me to a fist fight. Kevin something or other, right? And he's like, face it, man, Americans are stupid. They're stupid. I go, are our readers stupid? He's like, well, I can't get out of bed. I said, not waiting for an answer. I can't get out of bed, really, if I think that the people paying attention to what I'm doing are stupid. Not at all. Can't get out of bed. At all. Can't do what I do. Can't put out an article. Or like a mafia friend of mine's father once told him, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. So am I exhorting Joe to push a little bit? Yeah. More of the space stuff. More of that weed and do shit. I guess that's what your podcast is for. I guess you got to do something for the cheap seats, but you might be wrong in guessing how many cheap seats there are. So in the same way that I'm wanting Joe to reach, those fight degenerates who have lasted this long with Knuckle Up have maybe a native understanding. I don't give a fuck about all that shit that everybody else is talking about. I'm talking about macro, micro themes. If you go to Ozzy.com right now and do it while we're talking, go to Ozzy.com right now. I'm going to do it. And I ask a trenchant question, and I want you to read the piece. How often have I said that? In a half-assed way, I usually put it in a link below or something like that. Now I'm actually saying I want you to do it. And I want you to, the Johnny Boney Joni piece that I wrote. And the Johnny Boney Joni piece I wrote is called Whatever Happened to John Bones Jones. Can you see that? Well, that's what it looks like. But there's a piece at Ozzy.com. Bookmark it, read it later. So people are like, oh, well, the drugs and his inability. And I go, no. I'm going to go micro on this. If I want to go micro, I could go. There's several athletes now who are saying, look, I got popped dirty. These fucking supplements, Rich Gaspari supplements are fucking dirty. I'm getting dirty shit. So now Rich Gaspari supplements are being sued. Sorry, I got to plug it in. They have figured something out. Like the guy, remember there was a noodle story, a noodle house, and the guy at the noodle house, his competitor was just kicking his ass. He's going, send a spy over there, get a sample of this guy's noodles. We want to see. Turns out the guy was putting heroin in his noodles. People who are paying attention to these supplements, are paying. All you need is and the crowd for 5 seconds to go, oh man, that shit jacked. Dark rage, that is the shit. It doesn't cost much to put actual anabolic agents in them. In fact, FDA is not testing. You're not selling narcotic. In fact, it's cheaper for me to buy Sustanon than to buy supplements. And if I'm buying a supplement that makes me feel as good as Sustanon, I mean, in other words, what I'm saying is I could buy Sustanon, liquefied Sustanon, the oil esters mixed with sesame oil, put it on a plate, put it in the microwave, dry it, crystallize it, and put it in a fucking supplement, and you might get a bump off of that. This is not exculpatory. I'm not arguing the micros. If I wanted to argue the micros, I might say a baseball player got pegged. A couple of guys in different sports have gotten pegged. It's happened too often, too quickly, and with some people are admittedly dirty, but there are other ways to tell. Now, I was about to make the claim. If you thought I was going to make the claim, it doesn't matter. Before I even got to the show, if you know Sab used to sing for that band Iron Cross. Sab was what is the show on? He started talking to me about it, and he said to me very clearly, he goes, "Oh yeah, look, you know what? He's a boxer. He grew up in England, spent his time. He was in America, but his primary allegiance to boxing is that people want to take steroids. They should play American football. No one cares over there if you do, and you spend most of your time standing around anyways." There was a great boxer, David Price, who had his career taken from him a couple of years ago because the other guy was using. He fought Tony Thompson twice and lost both times. During the rematch, he hit Thompson hard. Thompson went down, but then he got up and went on to win. After the fight, he tested dirty, but the damage to Price's career was already done. He was on track to fight Klitschko. Now he scrubs around Europe fighting nobodies. It's also probably why we got settled with that awful Tyson Fury, too. He and Price were due to fight, and then that shit happened. Price is British as well, and they were coming up at the same time. So even though my feelings are well documented about performance-enhancing drugs and tend to be a little bit more liberal as a former user myself, I'm not a competitive, professionally competitive. I'm not a professional. Nor am I under the age of 18. So, so my personal feelings about steroids. So I'm not trying to make a case for John Jones based on the micro issues. He was the son of a preacher. Oh, he's got a social affective disorder where he can't stay on the straight and narrow he's afraid of success. He was in the piece that I wrote, that Ozzy piece, I talk about Hercules. And everybody talks about the great labors of Hercules, right? Oh, he labored this and he labored that and he did that. You do realize that those were part of his jail sentence, right? Because periodically, the idea was that if you mix that God element with the human element, whether we're talking Enoch's people were the people who purported antediluvians who built the great societies, a race of giants who built the great societies that had to be destroyed with the flood. The keys of Enoch, sometimes if you want a satanic text, they use Enochian keys. These were great builders, purportedly. They were the half-caste between angels and humans, and of course, they were brutal. I mean, angels benefit from a closeness to God, but God's love is not human love. We don't understand it as such. We wouldn't understand it. Otherwise, a tornado that kills 60 people or a car bomb that kills 300 people would make sense to us. It don't. So periodically, in a human framework, it's like, oh shit, Hercules just killed 20 people. And he would get punished and he would have to do these labors. So the Johnny Boney Joni thing, it is not the micro issue of, oh, he could have done this, he could have done that, he could have done. You know, it's like it's a macro issue. And it ties into the Rogan thing because Rogan has a perfectly serviceable career telling jokes. He could have gone up and, you know, I'm standing, how fat is he? You know, to me, it's like a black comedian who gets up there, you know, the difference between white people and black people. Jesus Christ. I like to get seats. Like a friend of mine went to see Ben Vereen play. He's a famous actor now. He's a friend of mine, Andre Brower. And he's sitting on the first couple of rows and Ben Vereen is doing this like kind of Chicken George thing. And Andre's sitting there like this. And he's because he just wasn't trying. Why do you think Elvis shot the TV when Robert Goulet was on? Yeah, you know what? You just want to make the rent? Go do something else, man. Because you could do greatness. Greatness is its own freaking reward. But greatness, that God element, so the divine element. I'm not going to call it religion. I'm not talking about that. Talking about religion interests me about as much as talking about socks. That God element, that's why we watch MMA. That's why we do anything we do. To get a glimpse of that shit outside the box, the realm of the infinite. That's why we do it. And my understanding of Johnny Bonigioni is not exculpatory. It's not I don't want to excuse, oh, he did blah, 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 because on the other side is a Daniel Cormier. But I do have an understanding that when you take that human element and you fill it with that God particle, that all kinds of shit happens. Greatness is stunning and blinding and punishing. Stunning, blinding, punishing, crushing. Somebody tweeted me and they're like, yeah, he could have said, a black belt I train with. He goes, man, he could have been, oh, damn it, sorry. I got carried away here. It'll sound better very soon. It's my hair looks so fantastic that it started to blind me. And he said, you know, he could have been the Michael Jordan. He could have been the Michael Jordan of MMA.
Well, you know what? Yeah, let me tell you. I'm assuming you can hear me better now. Sorry. The Michael Jordan of MMA. I mean, the thing that's freakish about Michael Jordan is that you filled that human earthly vessel with this God element, and he made it. Like he actually made it. But to get there, to embrace that, your belief in yourself has to be, wow, it's a kind of megalomania that you don't often see. How do you know Tiger Woods will never come back? Thank you. Audio is clear now. Sorry. You know Tiger Woods will never come back because Tiger Woods got what he got, that glimpse of the infinite from his father. He never believed it. It's like my kid saying to me, hey, Dad, last year I got second place. I think this time I'll take first place. It's a functional process. It's like Joe Rogan writing a joke that works. It doesn't work. He's like, oh, a lot of people laughed. He goes, I didn't think people would laugh at the joke about the woman. I don't want to ruin his routine. About the guy in Africa, Mutumbo. Very funny. But you know, that glimpse of the infinite, and that's why we pay attention to this sport, any sport. I realize that I'm not a big football fan. I realized that I think I was watching some game with Deion Sanders. That's how long ago that was, and I finally paid attention to football for what it was, where he did some shit on the field. He did some shit on the field, and I think it was Deion, maybe not. Maybe I think it was maybe a 49er. Yeah, you guys would know better to pay attention to football. And he did was it Terrell Owens? Nah, he was kind of a case. Anyway, he did something on the field that was otherworldly. And in that moment, I want to drop a mic and walk out. You remember the story I told you about the guys who were addicted to steroids? And one guy announces in the grips of This Deca mania. Says to the other people in the gym, goes, I can stop a moving car. And they're out by the Verrazano Bridge, and they walk over to the, what is it, the BQE, and everybody from the gym is like, oh fucking man, Carmine's gonna stop a car, and they all cop a seat on the fucking guardrail. They cop a seat on the guardrail, and when that car comes, he jumps out into that lane with his arms forward. He had a glimpse of the infinite. He just wasn't very good with language. He said, I feel like I could stop a car. There's a difference between I feel like I could stop a car and I can stop a car. And the fact of the matter is, I can live and stop a car is much better than I can stop a car, because anybody who runs you down will stop their car. So he was hurt badly. But that mania, that God mania, that megalomaniacal thing, steroids let you gain access to it. It lets you do stuff like that, like Tony Thompson and David Price, where you've been knocked the fuck down and you kind of go, I get up. But it's magic, it's smoke. And if you don't believe that, when you get that chemical next to you, they talk about pride goeth before a fall. There were allegations that Tiger Woods was using steroids to rehab. Okay, whatever. The father goes, chemicals go, some guys that can't function. A lot of people said that about Lyoto Machida, my pick. There is absolutely nothing to say about Machida's loss. That was fucked up. And it was a kind of fucked up that people, oh, Eugene lost Battalion. Nah, man. Nah. No. This is not even. This is the kind of thing where, as unself-aware as any individual might be, no one is that unself-aware. I mean, the lost battalion, strangely enough, the person who's lost battalion in this fight, the Brunson and Machida fight, is fucking Brunson. Yeah, that's time to line me up against Rocco. Hey, slow your flow, bro. What the fuck are you talking about? You're gonna go against Luke Rockhold with his limited skill set? You didn't do anything but attend the death of a friend. This shit is real. Not ring rust. Nah, everybody's gonna say, oh, ring rust, cage rust. No. We're talking about the infinite and your access to it. Maybe it was chemically induced. This idea that I can jump in front of the car and stop the car. Machida was that guy who stopped the car. Do you remember when I was in Vegas, rooting and a tooting? And I happened to interview him, an old knuckle up. Big guy walking around. His wife had to give me an elbow in the throat to stop the interview. We were into it. We were into the interview. And then the wife was like, and then they dragged him away. But it was a good interview. I don't remember when the knuckle up was. But let me be perfectly clear. Machida is done. I don't even think Machida has any questions about his donitude. He's never coming back to this. He said, oh, last time I did a thing, I blamed everybody else but myself. But now I'm taking full responsibility. Yeah, that's good. Good. He was an underdog going in. There are no slow fights. No slow fights when we glimpse the infinite. No slow fights. It's not like I'm going to get into Venice Biennale being kind of okay. I'm going to be kind of okay. I'm going to be sort of good. I'm going to be sort of good when I go to the Venice Biennale. I'm going to be all right. No. Nah. Got to be very good. Very fucking good. Or don't show up. Yeah, forget it. Don't show up. Don't do it. So he's done. At the age of 39, based on the wife giving me the elbow in the throat, I'm not saying that she wants to see him fight again. He's been doing enough commercials. You got to factor in the total picture. You fight one more fight like that, there will be no commercials. because you've replaced your public identity with look, you know, I remember when people were scared of George Foreman. Well before how long did it take him to get rid of that identity to where he could become a successful commercial pitchman? It took like at least a decade. So Machida is done. Brunson is lost battalion. I picked Damian Maia again. Counterintuitive. Damian Maia had a shitty game plan. He knew a wrestler, American top team wrestler, was going to be prepared to duck his 22 shots like he had against Woodley. He knew it, so he was going to stand up with the guy to create the uncomfortable confusion. As I don't know what this guy's going to do. It doesn't matter. Colby Crapington. Colby Crapington is usually why you hate on the guy who just won? Because he's a fucking moron. And by which I mean you just took 2 steps forward and 5 steps back. What do I mean? Here, let's look at the case of Josh Thompson. Josh Thompson spent a long time in the hinterlands. He finally makes it back to the big show, to the UFC. What does he do within 6 months of being back? Let's be less charitable. Within 3 months of being back in the UFC, he asked on his Facebook page if there was a difference between homosexuality and bestiality. And when people flipped out, he goes, "Hey, I'm just trying to spark some dialogue. What's next? Hitler, misunderstood? I'm just trying to spark some dialogue." People are not having it. And this was in the middle of equal rights, equal marriage rights, and so on. And you can just see the people who are hired to do PR. There's got to be a Lost Battalion corollary. Remember we had the physical mnemonic with the Lost Battalion when the guy goes, "Yeah, man, like Brunson, it's time for me to fight for a championship. Put me up against Rockhold, then I got Woodley. It's time." And everybody kind of behind him is like, "Dude, doesn't he know he's Derek Brunson? Doesn't Derek Brunson actually know he's fucking Derek Brunson?" This is a corollary to that. Yeah, the corollary is that I won. I'm glad I won, mama. And then he says some fucking stupid shit. And the PR people, the marketing people at the UFC, they just go, "We're done. My boss at Apple at one point told me, you have one job and one job only." I go, "What's that?" He goes, "To make me look good. You do that for me, and I'll do whatever you want." And pretty much any job you have, that's the case. You think it's enough to win? Nope. It is not. So that fight, Colby Crapington I picked Damian Maia to win. This is old guy wish fulfillment. Sorry. So both John Nash and I are down on those. And I picked Damian Maia to win. He did not win. It was a good fight. Damian Maia lost because of poor fight IQ. Coming out swinging against a wrestler who's a grinder and then expecting that you're somehow going to have jiu-jitsu to save you for the second or third round was a terrible miscalculation. You didn't have to throw that many punches to create the illusion that you were going to throw punches. And why you didn't work with a wrestler? What were you doing hanging out in New York if you couldn't find a wrestler? I don't know what you're doing, but there's got to be a problem with the tie-up, because these wrestlers are cutting through your attempts at takedowns like a knife through butter. It's a bad fight. But Colby just shows him that being a champion is not about just winning the fights, man. And this is what's so infuriating about Johnny Boney Joni. Johnny Boney Joni was tailor-made for PR success. But I don't know. There are lots of parents, lots of fathers of these faults. Or maybe just the idea. I had a relationship with a woman who was incapable of receiving joy. By which I mean, I'm not a guy with a lot of money, but I bought a fantastic kind of birthday present. I don't remember what it was, and gave it to her. And she felt so uncomfortable getting an expensive present from me that the first thing that came out of her mouth when she got it was, "Oh, I hear this is not very good." Soul crushing for the person who gives a gift. But you don't believe you should get stuff like that, then that's how you act. You crash into pregnant women. You take dick pills. But, you know, he was a PR agent's delight. But it's tough. It's tough having your butt. You don't, hey, I don't know what you do in your personal life. I don't know what you do in your professional life, but I have been held up against that grid. I had a perfectly safe and secure job at Nikon. The people I know from Nikon who worked at Nikon when I was there, a lot of them are still there. I did not have children when I worked at Nikon. Okay? Easy job. Easy. I wrote the lyrics to Oxbow's Serenade in Red when I was there. I got a job at Apple. Quit the job at Apple. Quit the job at Nikon. Took the job at Apple. And as I'm driving to Apple on the first day, it goes down to get down to Cupertino. You have to take 85, and then 85 continues in 280 splits. And you take, I can't remember, you take one side or the other to get to Apple. And I purposefully, I say it was an accident, I purposefully took the wrong one. And as I'm driving, I have to show up for orientations. I'm driving through the streets trying to get, this is before GPS, trying to get my way back. I had a thought. I go, I should just go back to Nikon. Yeah, because I'm got this kind of borderline autistic thing though. So like I just like things to be the same. I should go back. I should go back to Nikon. And I said, you know what? What is that thing that the creep Woody Allen said? 90% of everything is just showing up. I'll show up. I'll just show up. So let's see what happens. Being at Apple was one of the best decisions I ever made in my entire life. One of the best decisions. My heel turn. Daniel Cormier for the Carnival Barker act following Covington's promo, trashing the host. Okay. I'll get to that. So maybe that's what's happening with Johnny Boney Jr. I don't know. But I'm not getting micro with him. I'm getting macro. And macro is that very few can do it. When the skies open up and you are held against greatness, and even me, I knew Apple would change my life. I knew it. Steve Jobs had just gotten back there. I knew it would change my life, and still I took a wrong turn. I had to think. Woody Allen actually got me back. You know, so so I mean, I can only imagine. You have to be the kind of, you have to believe you deserve to be there in a really elemental way, in a way that makes you almost unsuitable for, you read the lives of some of these like heavyweight champions, the boxers of old. These were some, not Jack Dempsey was a bad guy. Bad guy, super bad, not a nice guy, very extremely bad guy. Not cool. All right, so UFC Fight Night 119. Sorry. Let's so going backwards and forwards in time, you can see that John Nash and I, oh my god, sorry, John Nash and I had a fucking crappy night. And after and I'm gonna zip through some of these because I want to talk about Donald Cerrone more than I want to spend any time talking about Rob Font. Sorry. So anyway, I'm looking at my tote sheet right here and lining it up. I had a terrible night. And that's okay. That's okay because we're amongst degenerates right now. It's like, you know, okay. So I picked Rob Font. I think the best part about it is that John actually didn't have as terrible of a night because he picked Pedro. And and it was a submission. So, and it was in the first fucking round. And then we both picked Francisco. Actually, let's just go through this. Francisco over Jim Miller was an easy gimme. I mean, and then I picked Vicente over Hermanson, and he picked Hermanson. So now we're even, right? We both picked Lineker. Lineker won, and then I picked. God damn it! I picked Nico Price against Luque. And so I am now down one, and I have nothing left on my card. So he had two more picks than I had. He can only lose now if Zaleski and Brooks don't win. And so let's see, Zaleski and Brooks, and then I'm going to go right away to I'm going to go right away to Cerrone. Zaleski and Brooks. Where's my tote sheet? So Zaleski won. God damn it. So Zaleski won. So he's up. And then he picks Brooks. And Brooks lost. Oh, God damn it. So what does that mean? Well, it means he hasn't bested me. He had more right picks, but he had more picks. But that also works for his wrong picks as well. He may have bested me by one. I don't know. Somebody figure this out for me. Here, look at my scribble. Can you read my scribble? So I'm not so. Some guy at jiu-jitsu was trying to explain to me the difference between 0 and 1. He goes, anything more than 0 is not 0. I go, yeah. He goes, 1 is more than 0. I got it. He goes, I don't think you do. I go, oh, you're right. I don't. What do you mean? He goes, 1 is not 0. I got it. 1 is not 0. Anything more than 0 is not 0. I got it. But it's bigger than 0. I got it. What about square root of -2? He goes, what are you talking about? That's like saying apple. It's an imaginary number. I go, in olden times, I would take a rock to your head. It's my friend Tel Aviv, my friend Yaniv from Tel Aviv, probably a bona fide mathematical genius. I don't know. I don't know what he was talking about. Oh, 0s and 1s. But anyway, so Donald Cerrone. Donald Cerrone has been a company guy, doesn't even know what money is. But you understand that Donald Cerrone is very, very specifically right now where Chuck Liddell was. He's a guy that the ball guy likes. He's been helping him out. He's a company guy, but now we're talking sad time. He's got 32 wins, but he's got 10 losses. And a lot of those losses, oh man, what's going on with my nose? My nose is itching like crazy. A lot of those losses have come the last 3 fights. He got beaten by George Masvidal. He got beaten by Robbie Lawler, and he got beaten by Darren Till. Now, Darren Till is talking crazy. Like, oh, he's gonna go up to light heavyweight. Okay, whatever, bro. Just stop. It's like if somebody starts talking some stupid shit about, oh man, when I was in the Olympics. Speaking of which, what Sarah did to me today is very funny. He said, Eugene, why don't you go with that white belt? And it turns out the white belt was training with the American Olympic judo team. He's a black belt at judo. It'd be pretty funny not to tell Eugene. So I can't use any of my hands, either of my hands now. They hurt like fuck. At least I didn't end up like Ricardo, the Italian, who was thrown with a grand amplitude throw that saw his body suspended in the air for a few 2 seconds before he came crashing down on the back of his neck. I love those practical jokes. It's like, hey, man, like when I was a kid, let's throw that cinder block off of that building and see what happens. Fuck, some guys just did that. The dude died, and they're going to jail for murder. So Donald Cerrone is in that place where, I mean, and I'm pleading this case. January 28th, he lost to George Masvidal. A few months later, July. Well, there's a few months between January, so this is 7th and the 1st month. So 6 months he fights and he loses to Robbie Lawler. But between July and October, there's not that much time. He's fighting very tough guys in a short period of time. And now Donald Cerrone is a fuckhead. Because if he's Donald Cerrone, but that shit's still in his head. Maybe he can dig down deep, but Donald Cerrone has no clocks at home that run backwards. None at all. And so there's no lifetime deal anymore. Apparently, Chuck is on the... I'm going to tell you some tales out of school. And Chuck is doing personal appearances and tried to book one with a guy who I know. Guy called me and goes, "Hey, Eugene, can I talk to you for a minute?" "Yeah, what's going on, man?" "I'm trying to work with Chuck on this personal appearance thing." I go, "Yeah? Well, his fee is kind of high." I go, "What's he asking for?" He's like, "Well, he's asking for $25,000. I go, "Whoa, that's a little high." I mean, just you would have to get how many people do you have to get in house for a price that they would pay? So say I would pay $20 to go to a Chuck Liddell personal appearance, maybe, right? Maybe that's what I would pay. Okay, I'm not so strong in the math, so $25,000 divided by 20 is 1,250. You're gonna get 1,250 people in to see Chuck Liddell? Probably not, man. He goes, "Okay." Call him later. Go, "So what'd you decide to do?" So I countered. "Well, what did you counter with?" "I think I give you 2,500." It's like hearing from a woman that some of your friends like attempts to get her into bed. There's certain things that guys should never hear. That's why you want to keep that shit simple. Some guys say, "Eugene, what's your favorite pickup line?" I go, "You want to know my favorite pickup line?" Guy goes, "Yeah, tell me." He goes, "Yeah." I say, "Hello." He's like, "What?" I say, "Hi, how you doing? What's going on?" Because that canned shit, whatever, man. You got to reach. Hi is the keyhole, and a universe sits on the other side of that keyhole. That works. Hi. So yeah, Chuck is no lifetime employment and not getting $25,000 for personal appearances. Matt Hughes, probably I don't know if he has insurance from the Hall of Famer, but Bob Arum, who is generally a know-nothing prick, said it best. And he goes, when we get, and he may be lying. Mike Tyson might take issue with this. He goes, when we get money, we plow it back into the business. We're not buying ourselves beach houses. When the UFC gets money, these guys are lining their freaking pockets. How much is enough? Invest in your fighters, please. You want to get in the boxing? He's saying to the bald one about the bald one's claims. The bald one, yeah, saying that you want to get in the boxing makes about as much sense as saying you want to get into the cage. The fuck out of here. Now you have haves and have-nots. The guys who are making bank, the Mayweather bank, the Pacquiao bank, those guys are few and far between. But Andre Ward just retired, man, and I don't think any of you can name his last 5 fights. He could retire. You show me an MMA fighter who can retire. Anyone other than McNuggets, and not even Johnny Boney Joni at this point. And don't tell me Brock, because Brock didn't make his money at the UFC. That was play money. That was like me buying another SUV money. The bald one is going to get in the boxing. Get the fuck out of here. There is nothing that the only way to improve the sport that we love, the only way to reach out to increase those growth deltas, the only way, and this is largely true about every aspect of American involvement in the social sphere, the only way is to start increasing inducements. You lost Brian Stan. Look, I got to spend some time with my family. I make some real money. Ally Aquinta. How many Elvis fans have to fucking tell you that you're fuck up before you start paying people? Because now Donald Cerrone is looking at an uncertain future. I mean, Lost Battalion, I don't say he's unaware. I think he knows really fucking seriously where he is. And it's not a good place. It's not a good, listen, I have people who are entertainers. And they're so taken with this idea of being entertainers that they don't realize that those lights got to be kept on. That's why you can still get decent houses in LA. You know why? Because success is cyclical for some people in LA. And so they go, oh, I'm going to buy a $3 million house and down. I got to sell it for $2 million. The real estate market yo-yos there. Don't make long-term plans with this shit. But there's got to be something. There's got to be. I mean, so the people I know who are entertainers, they have a public profile that's like, oh, I've heard of that guy. I've heard of that guy. Hey, didn't one of you want me to tell you my retell of Jack Black story? Any of you guys remember that? Where an ex of his was a girl I was messing around with, and she was like, yeah, we got to go see Jack when we get to LA. And I didn't know anything about Tenacious. I didn't pay attention to that pop culture bullshit. So, fat jolly guy comes up. I'm like, hey. And he's like, oh, hey. And I was like, okay, bro. And so Eugene. So what is it you do? I said, well, I'm a writer. He goes, so anyway. And I've often had this reaction, like growing up, and people like were mean to me. I just thought it was hilarious, actually. I thought it was really funny. Like he was being very funny. And he's torn. He's such a consummate fucking attention whore. He's torn with the fact that like I'm actually digging on it, right? Like sadists always like me because I appreciate their sadism. Right? That calculus teacher, Mr. Fisher, who got a girl to say that 2 + 2 was 5, and then she broke down in tears. He's the same guy who gave me a 0 on a test. The lowest grade in all my classes, Mr. Robinson. And I'd been laughing so heartily at everybody else was getting 15s and 7s. I mean, he was taking 10 points off if the line that had your name on it went a little too long. He was crazy. And then he handed me the 0.0. I was like, that was great. That was a great setup. And he was like, he really appreciated that I appreciated his sadism. So at first I thought it was funny. And I, for many years, thought, that Jack Black, he kept doing that 4, 5, 8 times maybe, asking me a question about myself, then interrupting himself about something more, that was pretty fucking funny. And then things start to change for me. When they started, I don't even really speak to the woman anymore, but when things started to change? Around the time he did King Kong. And I was like, oh shit. This motherfucker's making real money now. Real money, huh? You want to make me the object of your fun, huh? Next time I see Jack Black, I'm going to slap you out of your fucking shoes. That's right. Hashtag Jack Black. Hashtag out of your fucking shoes. But I digress. Somebody asked me to tell a Jack Black story, so I did. So I've gone over time, like I said I would. I've covered 2 weeks of shows. I've covered Joe Rogan's routine, and I've covered the fights. And I'm expecting that if you've been paying attention this long, that you're kind of wondering how we got from Infinite, the God element, bad Vegas jokes, Joe Rogan's routine, Johnny Boney Joni, to Donald Cerrone, and where does that leave us at the conclusion of Knuckle Up number 254? And that leaves us in a very specific place vis-a-vis Knuckle Up. And those of you who are zaprootering this, listen very closely to what I'm saying now. Hear me now and believe me later. That there is only one way to do this shit. I don't care, like Ray said to me, Eugene, I don't care if you're rich, you're poor, you're black, you're white, you're Chinese, you're Japanese, you're gay, I can't, Ray, I got it. Let me finish. You're gay, you're straight, you're Lithuanian, you're Latvian, you're Hungarian. Ray, I got it. You're going to interrupt me again? Now I got to start the beginning. Okay, Ray, just go. You don't give me okay, Ray, just do the right thing. That was Ray's conclusion. And then Ray got later busted for embezzlement. So let's just leave that alone right there. But the conclusion is greatness is the only thing worth living for. It is the only, if I had to, people like, well, you could do, I've had guys come to me and go, you should be rich. You go, This guy's like, man, if I was you, I'd be making tons of money. How would I do it? He goes, direct mail. I can sell you this thing for $6,000. I can tell you how to maximize direct mail. That's the key to the future. Direct mail. I don't care, man. Don't care. I'm not doing it. You know, there's a guy in America who put more urinals in buildings than any other person in America. He is probably healthily called the urinal king of America. I'm sure it's how many different people could it be? It's a company. Whoever's the CEO of that company is a urinal king. You know, that's a pretty noteworthy achievement. He's probably rich. Marcel Duchamp put one fucking urinal in a museum, and he is golden. Be that guy. And this is not some Rollins fucking human potential shit. I am telling you a way to stay visible to yourself and others. I do something great. And if you can't do something great, doing nothing is an acceptable substitute. Brian Stan was, I can't do something great and I can't live on mediocrity. So long. So read the Johnny Joni Boney piece. Follow this shit at Twitter, because then you don't get lost. At Eugene S. Robinson, Twitter. It's no longer gated. Anybody can come in now. It's like an orgy. And I wanted to get into the whole Harvey Weinstein thing. We've been talking a lot about that on If the Shoes Fit and If I Did It. Because I'm currently kind of in this maniacal mental swirl. Like, what's the difference between a clumsy pass and what Harvey Weinstein did? I mean, you commingle the professional and the personal, that's bad. Didn't use threats, that's bad. We kind of started joking, and my wife and I were like, she could actually take me to court. And they were the same things. I met her under professional circumstances. I walked into her venue and I had no pants on. It starts to look very bad for me when you lay it out on a piece of paper. How is it mitigated by the fact that we got married? These are questions that need to be asked. I met my mother-in-law in the same spot that I met her daughter, who I married, and I also had no pants on. You put that shit on paper, and suddenly Eugene looks like there's a problem, right? He's got a problem. So during the Oxbow show that she attended, she's sitting there and her band played and she played and she's standing there with her boyfriend. And in the middle of the show, I decide to lick her thigh. It's not looking good for me in a court of law. I mean, this wasn't even like a clumsy pass. This is like crazy guy stuff. Who knows? Who does this kind of stuff? But there are no tweets about me. I don't have people screaming for my blood. So Eugene, out of all the women that you've known, there's got to be somebody who could levy a complaint. There's got to be. But nobody. I mean, look. First of all, anybody who's associated with me, they all get like P. Diddy says. About Harlem World, we all get paid. I make my friends money. I advance their careers insofar as I can. If they want to have sex with me, that's fine. If they don't, I'm okay with that too. There's no retaliatory, no revenge, no reprisal killings. But this Harvey, I'm still formulating my head around the Harvey Weinstein thing. I think we'll talk more about it on Tuesday night at 7:20 Pacific Standard Time on If I Did It and If the Shoes Fit. Because that story has got legs. It's changing. It's not going away. And I'm disgusted with the mealy mouth response of fucking almost everybody in Hollywood. But I'm enjoying people getting shot in the field. I mean, because at first then I was like, well, the problem is these guys just don't take no for an answer. I was like, phew. Look at you. How many? There are people that you've asked to have sex many a time. Hey, you want to have sex with me? No. Hey, no, really, seriously, you want to have sex with me? No. Hey, okay. Hey, I got a question for you. Yeah, what is it? You want to have sex with me? No. Right? Why am I not a creep? Because I'm just having fun. Unless you're gonna go for it. In which case, that's one other thing. But there's a lot, and I guarantee you, by the next Knuckle Up, which will be 253, we'll have something to talk about. If not, if we don't touch on it on if I did it, or if the shoes fit. So Mr. Sleep 3 on Instagram. But if you don't have any posts there, I don't let you in. That's gated. And if you're trying to make sure that you can check me out before I check you out, like you restrict your thing, forget it. I get to peek in first and decide whether I want you in the party, and then you can come in. So that's it. Down below, give me a thumbs up. Unless you're Boston market. I know we have a percentage of the viewership who comes specifically because they fucking hate me. And I have to tell you, I love you guys. Eugene, you Zionist prick, you. Nice to see you too. You, how could you say that about Ireland? You had no idea. I love you too. So Tuesday night, if the shoes fit, Wednesday or Thursday, Care Don't Care preview if there's a fight next weekend. But Wednesday of this week, coming up, we got the comedy show at the Punchline in San Francisco. And yes, I will have a firearm on me, so don't fucking try it. And next weekend, we have the U.S. Open, and I'm competing. Even though my left finger is still gimped, and because of the judo guy and the guy who I call the 253-pound Romanian, and my left wrist is still, I got the electrostimulator thing working out my left wrist, and I'm overweight. So I got to starve myself this week. Otherwise, we'll see you soon, and we'll talk about the Knuckle Up thing later. Anyway, let's end the show. I'm your host, Eugene S. Robinson. This is for Scattershot. We'll see you soon. Look what you made me do!